On the Gainbridge Ball State Cardinals Sports Network. From Learfield, welcome to the Varsity House Birdfeed on the Ball State Gainbridge Network. Here is your host, Joel Godett.
Chuck another one up to the good guys on Saturday in Ypsilanti. Ball State on the road takes down the Eastern Michigan Eagles 38-31 was the final score, which means Ball State rolls into homecoming week on a nice little 3-game winning streak. Welcome into the Birdfeed Live, presented by Varsity House. We broadcast just after noon inside the LA Pittenger Student Center each week. Bryce Cosby, Mike Neu, and Joel Godett. You can catch this live on YouTube. You can catch it on demand on the Chirp Cast podcast feed or across the state of Indiana on the ISC Sports Network. You guys feel good?
Feel great, 3-game win streak in conference, 2 back-to-back road wins. The team morale is high, and, we understand the process that we got to go about every week to kind of get the same results. So it's back to the drawing board per usual.
Mike, I know you are always excited after victories, but the picture of you post-game in the locker room was about as good as it gets. Tell me about your level of excitement after the win on Saturday.
Yeah, no question. Obviously, those are those moments that you wish you could describe to somebody exactly what that feels like. But when you get a chance to sing your fight song like that together, and you go through a whole week of preparation, the guys put in so much hard work on the field, so much hard work in the weight room and the meeting room, and to have a moment like that together, those are the things I know for me. I'll remember those scenes and those moments forever, and that was special just to be in there with the guys Saturday celebrating a huge win. And, obviously it was going to be another great 3.5-hour bus ride back home.
All right, 38-31 is the final score as the Cardinals took down Eastern Michigan. Housekeeping off the top, though. We talked about it right as you guys sat down. Bryce Cosby is the Mid-American Conference West Division Defensive Player of the Week again this week, so that's 2 in a row for him. But, Mike, he's not the Defensive Player of the Week on his own team. So walk me through the contributions that Malcolm Lee made, because I think he had the exclamation that really made it a sweet day at the end of things.
I think a lot of it, in terms of Malcolm, Bryce Cosby's a starter. He's been a starter since day one when he showed up here, and he's consistently just put his best football on the field each and every week. But when you talk about the circumstances that unfolded on Saturday, Malcolm really found out that he was going to take on a more of an increased role about 9 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. And the credit to him for just being ready to step up when his number's called. I thought it was awesome that Coach Stock and Jay-Z mentioned that Malcolm, throughout the week of preparation last week in practice, he had 4 interceptions, and then his 5th one was on Saturday. when we needed it the most. And so that just is a credit to the young man for always working hard, always being ready, always staying ready, always coming into the facility every morning with a great attitude. And it's tough out there, man, when you put up the numbers like Bryce Cosby does and you're not even the defensive player of the week in your own building, but yet you're the conference defensive player of the week. But obviously, Bryce's play and who he is just speaks for itself.
Malcolm Lee with the interception that seals the deal at the end of the day. That's what allowed you guys to come back out on the field, take that victory formation. Bryce, I feel like this is the role you so often play on these shows each week. Let's talk about Malcolm Lee as the person. Mm-hmm. You are around him all the time. Yep. What is Malcolm Lee like off of the field that led to him being able to have this kind of an opportunity?
I'll be the first one to say, without guys like Malcolm Lee in your locker room, you don't win games, meaning – he has no ego whatsoever. Malcolm is, whatever you guys need me to do, I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. I'm going to do it 100%. And, I'm down with the cause. Malcolm is just a guy that, we can count on. I know for a fact, rain, sleet, or snow, Malcolm Lee is going to give his all, And you got to respect that as a teammate and as a competitor because that's all you can ask from a guy at the end of the day. We talked about Cole Pierce a couple weeks ago, guys who are just going to go out there, give it their all, and whatever happens, happens. I'll take that every day over someone who's going to go out there, overthink, play tense. That's not really going to get you anywhere. So, Malcolm is a guy like Coach Neu said. He's done a lot in the dark, and now that it's came to light, it's not a surprise to anybody that's in our facility on a daily basis.
Mike, you guys have the single-digit numbers in this program, and you earn a single-digit uniform number by being a tough Cardinal, what you do in the classroom, what you do in the weight room, what you do off the field. Very seldom do you see guys wear those single-digit numbers that don't play a ton. And until this year, that was Malcolm Lee, because you always kind of looked at the roster and you're like, all right, Drew Plitt, Bryce Cosby, Cody Rudy, AJ Uzadinma, Yo Hines, Malcolm Lee. What do people not see about Malcolm Lee that allow him to be one of those tough Cardinals and earn that honor? And now here he is as a senior, earning that time on the field.
He's just a humble, hardworking young man. And just like Bryce mentioned, whatever you ask him to do, he is going to do and give it everything that he's got. And so whether his role started out with an increased role in terms of special teams, and that's really how he first made his mark here. But when you would see Malcolm Lee run down the field on kickoff coverage and the fear that he would put into our opponents because of how fast he was running, and we saw it week after week, him making a tackle down inside, down inside the 20-yard line or down inside the 15-yard line. He made his mark, and he knew that, man, that's the role they're asking me to perform right now. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. And then it really tells you how hard he's worked in the weight room, because a big chunk of the tough Cardinal and guys earning the opportunity to move into a single-digit jersey is what they do in the weight room and then what they do in the classroom. And he's accountable. Everything that you ask for from your players, and just starting at the top, and Malcolm just checks off all those boxes. And it's just good to see that every time that he's been put in a position, or every time he's been asked to go out and play an increased role, he's always ready and he always delivers.
Mike Neu joining us, Bryce Cosby joining us. Ball State knocking off Eastern Michigan Saturday in Ypsilanti. 38-31 the final score. Malcolm Lee, that interception to seal the deal at the very end of the day. Bryce, walk me through the final sequence of that game from a player's perspective, because you guys are up, give up the touchdown that makes it a one-score game. You create a field goal opportunity. Jake Chenov hits the field goal, pre-snap penalty. Have to do it again. Miss the field goal, puts you back to the wall a little bit. What's running through your mind defensively when you know, all right, all chips on the table here, let's go out and get this one more stop?
Some action, baby. That's all it is. It's some action. As crazy as it sounds, me personally, I'm always preparing my mind for a four-quarter game. I don't think I'm not going in any game thinking, this is going to be lopsided. I'm ready to battle all four quarters. And so when it comes down to that, it's not catching me off guard. It's not like I'm getting tense or I'm worried. This is what it is. And as a competitor, that's the way I want it. I want the defense to be on the field to be able to seal the game for us. That's going to make it that much more fulfilling. And so really it's just about honing in on your job and focusing on, the task at hand that much more. The time and everything that's going on, that's nothing but things that's drawing your attention away from what really matters, and that's each down, first down, second down, third down, and we just the play that Malcolm made at the end of the game. There was a lot of people that executed their job, and then Malcolm, like Coach said, he had 4 picks in practice. This wasn't nothing that he didn't do during the week, and he finished it off for us. So super happy for him.
It's the Cardinals getting set to take on Miami this Saturday as they are back home after those 2 weeks on the road. 3:30 is kickoff time inside Schumann Stadium. It is homecoming. We'll talk about the matchup a little bit as we move throughout the program. I know it is Coach Neu's favorite opponent with the Miami Redhawks coming to town.
We don't like each other. How's that?
We'll talk about that love affair as we get into our game preview on the second half of things. I want to speak bigger picture, though, from this past Saturday about the defensive effort, because you look at the box score, Mike, and I don't think I've ever seen a guy like Hassan Beydoun put up a line of 12 catches for 81 yards. Like, if you have 12 catches, 190, 200, 12 catches for 81. You guys gave them anything they wanted 4, 5, 6 yards from the line of scrimmage. Anytime they had to throw the ball down the field, J.T. Wahi picked one off. Malcolm Lee picked one off. J.T. Wahi picked off another one that there was a flag on. But, anytime they had to throw deep, it made them uncomfortable. Walk me through the strategy and the game plan a little bit and why that was what it was this week and why it worked.
I'll let Bryce start that one.
No, Eastern Michigan was a team. I've played them for going on 5 years now, so it's always been understood that they'll rely on the quick game. They're satisfied with taking the 5-yard, 6-yard gains to kind of march their way down the field. But the harsh reality of that is, as an offense, you got to be really efficient, really flawless, and you really got to play mistake-free football. Any negative plays can get you behind schedule. So it's a hard game to play. And as a defense, I think we're willing to play that game. We'll take our odds for you to take 5 and 6 all the way down the field without making any mistakes that could get you off track. And so it was that, and then guys just doing their job playing top down. Like I said, the name of the game on defense is to eliminate the explosive plays. So we want to take everything top down. We'll come and rally on all the things underneath, but it's the things over top that's really going to get us beat. So we was just, really just playing the chess game with them all game, and luckily we were able to come out on top.
And until that final drive of the game, that last touchdown drive for Eastern Michigan, their longest play was 18 yards. Mike, I'll be damned if we didn't sit here last week and talk about how J.T. Wahi could play wide receiver for you guys, and then not 6 days later he goes out and makes the most athletic catch in the game. What about his interception impressed you?
Well, before even getting to the interception, but going back just from a defensive standpoint and them throwing the ball and doing all that, we did such a good job of stopping the run. We eliminated, obviously there were not many yards to be had in terms of the ground. The guys up front did a great job that way in terms of stopping the run. The guys did a good job, when we had an opportunity to tackle. And so they were in a situation where that's what they were going to have to try to execute that day offensively in the passing game. And as Bryce mentioned, obviously we played against these guys before. We knew it was one of those games where that's fine. If you got to run 8, 9, 10 plays, then we're going to bank on us out executing you and us finding a way to get a stop there. And then, talking about a guy like JT, I go back and I just think about his ball skills and how big his hands are, and that interception on the sideline. I'm just fortunate that I had a front row seat because it was right there in front of me, and I'm just going to see. I didn't think for a second that JT wasn't going to come down with that, and really, the one in the end zone, that would not have surprised me if he'd have came down with that with a one-handed pick. And if he would have, I might have had to walk off because that would have been one of the most impressive plays I ever had a chance to see. But that's just, JT's just, whatever we ask him to do. And I know we've said that before, but it's just good to see him. He always takes it over to the field, and just a smooth guy. I know we've said that before, and he's one of those guys that, very appreciative of, having him out there playing whatever that role is each and every week.
Mike Neu, Bryce Cosby joining us here. This is the Varsity House Birdfeed Live as we break down the Cardinals' victory over Eastern Michigan this past Saturday. Home again this Saturday, 3:30 for homecoming against Miami. Mike, let's talk offense for you guys. We joked. I don't know this for a fact. I just know it's true. Nobody in the history of college football has ever opened 3 consecutive games with a touchdown on the first play. So we're like, all right, well, what are the odds that this possibly happens? You guys took that like a challenge, though, because you guys came out with a phenomenal trick play that if Carson Steele makes one guy miss, it's a 75-yard touchdown. Instead, it's a 26-yard gainer. I guess we'll take it. It was a really well-drawn-up play. What was your approach to that first snap on Saturday?
Yeah, you know how we double moved on that first play against Army. Obviously, the first play against Western was 4 verticals, and so it's like, okay, they're going to be ready for something from a passing game standpoint. So when you go with a double pass, and Jay Sean's one of those guys that can throw it, and so it really was a good job by the offensive staff, and good job by Jay Sean and Carson executing that, and we gave it a shot. How's that? Trying to get a score on the first play, but anyway, it set the tone. It really set the tone, obviously, to be able to go down the field the first drive there and score a touchdown, and so it really did a good job of setting the tone.
Bryce, what's it like for you to watch what your offense has done to open up games the last few weeks?
I mean, yeah, you're talking about 3 touchdowns. I'm happy with 3 explosive plays to start the game. An explosive play to start the game is a positive. We're already moving in the right direction. But no, I mean, it's great to see the offense really grooving right now. The balance is beautiful. It was a complete football game in my opinion. Offensively on Saturday, I think we only punted once. So anytime you got a statistic like that, the offense is doing something right. I think it was, a lot of working pieces. Really, really proud of the O-line and the way they've been able to step up and really take on this role. Things have kind of been less than ideal with them in terms of just, guys going out, coming back. The rotation's been a little different, but, just the way they've been able to adjust and, still produce at a high level and be the core leaders of our offense, and being able to, for us to be able to produce week in, week out, it says a lot about them and our coach, Coach Johnson. So, I'm just super excited for those guys. I knew the deadly weapons we have all around the field, receivers, tight ends, quarterbacks, linemen, running backs. I'm just excited to see how this thing keeps rolling.
Mike, let's talk about the offensive line a little bit, because when Carson Steele started to go off in the second half, I turned to Coach Spizak and I go, you're going to have to apologize to Coach Neu this week for questioning whether or not we could run the ball. And that became our running joke throughout the entire second half. You guys showed definitively that you are capable of running the football this week. What impressed you about the way that got done?
Well, as Bryce said, the job that Coach Johnson has done with the offensive linemen, and then for the offensive linemen, very similar when you're talking about a guy like Malcolm Lee. We got some offensive linemen that maybe they didn't start the year as a starter, if you will, but they stayed ready and they kept working in practice. And every period in practice, even when you're not doing team periods, you're working on drills, you're working on techniques. And Coach Johnson, the offensive linemen kind of have their section of the field where they do their deal. They go through their footwork, they go through their combo blocks, whatever it is. And so, we've had some guys that had to play different spots. Anthony started the year at center, Anthony Todd. Now he's playing left guard.
Had never played guard before.
That's right. And so just the credit to those guys. Corey Stewart stepped in. The first part of the season, he was rotating at right tackle with Damon Kaler. Now he's starting at left tackle. And so just for those guys to be ready. And Ethan Crow stepped in. His confidence is growing. Curtis is back now the last 2 games at right guard. And great to have him back. And then Damon's confidence, just like Corey's, just growing every single week. And so really proud of those guys because, obviously when you run the ball 19 of your final 20 plays of the game and you execute, and you execute. And so, Carson Steele, Will Jones, those guys will be the first ones to tell you that, man, obviously Carson had a huge game and deservedly so, but it all started with the guys up front in the trenches and giving him an opportunity to do his thing. We haven't had didn't have a sack, and they had 2 guys on the edges that were good pass rushers that, had really good production in previous weeks. So really the credit goes to those guys up front because they never get enough credit.
There's an interesting, weird silver lining, I feel like, to what's happened with your offensive line as well, because the blessing of the additional COVID year of eligibility is that everybody gets to come back. The downside of that is that it creates backlogs where you can't play guys that maybe have risen their way up the depth chart maybe as much as you would want to or you normally would have in a regular season. And then you look at, all right, now what's going to happen next year when the bajillion seniors that every team has leaves? For you guys, that was and is going to decimate your offensive line. But because of what's happened, you go from a situation where, next year you would bring back 1 offensive line to now, obviously you're worried about the here and now, and the guys are playing well here and now, but it puts you in a situation where next year you're going to bring back 4/5 of your offensive line, and it almost from a macro program level puts you guys on a very interesting, beneficial footing.
Yeah, obviously for right now, trying to be in the moment. Obviously this year every year's presents different challenges. We had really good depth going into the year on the offensive line. Thankfully so. We've had a few injuries here and there, but just trying to be in the moment right now. And, that's just part of the game, no matter what level you play, college, pro, high school, that's part of the game, and you just have to do a great job of preparing your guys. And, again, Coach Johnson has done such a great job of having the guys ready to go and building confidence in them and instilling confidence in them and making them believe. And there's a lot that goes into it before you ever get to game day, and just proud of the work of Coach Johnson and, those guys being ready to go when their number's been called.
I count Joe Boggs. He has not played this year, but he opened fall camp as the starting right tackle. So if you count, or starting right guard. Right guard?
Joe was starting going into the year, starting at right tackle.
Right. Okay, I was right. So if you count Joe Boggs, 17 offensive linemen on your roster, 11 of them have played this year. So that's the depth that you guys have been able to put on display at that position. I want to talk about something external to football that happened on Saturday, because this is the first true game you guys have had where you would say we had football weather, so to speak. I don't know if it caught people by surprise, but it was like 80 degrees on Wednesday, and felt like every time Greg Sujak opened up his microphone to announce a penalty call on Saturday, it sounded like he was broadcasting from a hurricane with Jim Cantori. What was it like down on the field for you guys, and is that a good sign that football season is in full-fledged mode, Bryce?
I knew, time was limited. I'm like, it's a little too good to be true. It's still 80 degrees. We're creeping into October in Muncie. Something ain't right. But, I'm around this time. It's usually when, Maction starts. And when Maction starts, that usually means it gets a little colder outside. But, Saturday I usually go and warm up outside by myself. And, I had my long sleeve on, and I was going back and forth. But I was like, just keep the long sleeve on today. So, but I wouldn't say it was cold. It was pretty good football weather.
The wind impact the game at all, Mike? I think specifically Jacob Lewis going out there and kicking what probably could have been about a 74-yard field goal. What did it feel like down there to you?
Well, to me, it kept changing some. It felt like as soon as you thought the wind was going in a certain direction and you were going to have advantage, then all of a sudden there would be a gust that would go the other direction, then it would kind of start to swirl. So it was kind of back and forth that way, and, it's one of those deals that, yes, it impacts. All right, where do we need to get to kick a field goal if we're going in this direction? But everything else, we just can't let it affect you.
It doesn't impact play calls of, can we take shots if the wind is doing this?
No,
okay.
we can't let it do that. And so we just try to stay on the aggressive. And, certainly there's times that, a play here or there, but yet you try not to let that have an impact on how you call the game and how you go about it.
One more question about Saturday. We will take a timeout and then jump forward to Miami. We talked about Malcolm Lee being the player of the week defensively for you guys. The offensive line was the offensive player of the week. The special teams player of the week was Hassan Littles, another guy that probably doesn't get the heraldry that some other players in this program receive. What did he do on Saturday? He's like punt downer extraordinaire, kick coverage extraordinaire. What about his Saturday really stood out?
Yeah, well, obviously he always does a tremendous job when you talk about coverage and, his role as a gunner and his role on the kickoff team. But really what he stepped in there on the muff punt that Justin had, he recovered that. Hassan covered that. And then at the end of the game, when we had the hands team out there, he hadn't been in that position before where he was at. And so
he almost ran an onside kick back for a touchdown.
That was a good kick by them. It was a really good kick, and Hassan just attacked it with confidence, made the play, and then to have the awareness and the instincts to take it down the sideline and really put us in great field position where, yes, I know at the end of the game that, we didn't execute the field goal, but also none of our guys blinked on that either. We all picked up Jake, and the defense went out there, and everybody on our sideline believed the defense was going to go out there and get a stop, and that's just what was going to happen. But really, he because of those huge plays he made in such critical situations, and obviously Hassan's delivered every week for us in terms of special teams.
So the Cardinals victorious 38-31, the final score in Ypsilanti on Saturday. It moves Ball State to 2-1 in conference. They control their own destiny now as well because Toledo took a loss, so they're now 1-2. So if the Cardinals do what they need to do, they will be where they want to be come the end of this season. We will talk about the next step in that journey when we come on back. It is homecoming this week here in Muncie, 3:30 kickoff Saturday at Schumann Stadium. Ball State and Miami. We'll break that down next on the Birdfeed Live from Varsity House.
At Northwest, your financial peace of mind is behind everything we do, no matter where you are or where you're going. That's why we created Affinity Checking, 3 accounts designed to fit your life with all the essentials you expect, plus benefits that grow along with our relationship. Our team will help you find the right account and personally follow up to ensure you're happy. Affinity Checking, just another way Northwest helps increase the value of you. Northwest Bank is member FDIC, equal housing lender.
While new vehicles may be harder to come by recently, Stoops Automotive has stocked their inventory with plenty of new-to-you vehicles to help you find the perfect ride. Cars, trucks, SUVs, all quality pre-owned at drive-home prices. And Stoops Automotive has an amazing staff to help you find exactly what you're looking for. Stoops Automotive, East Central Indiana's used car headquarters for over 30 years.
Visit them today on West Clare Lane in Muncie or at stoopsauto.com.
Stoops, we're driven to be the best.
See dealer for details.
Whether you're injured or just plain sick, Community now offers Connect to Care. With one call or online click, we'll find you the closest open appointment. That could be a med check, a primary care doctor, or a virtual visit right on your screen. At the most inconvenient time, Connect to Care is mighty convenient. Just call 765-298-1400 and a community concierge will locate options and make your appointment. Or you can search and set an appointment yourself. Our website is always open. Visit ecommunity.com/connect. The quickest route to feeling better starts with us.
Community Health Network. Exceptional care, simply delivered.
This is the Birdfeed Live presented by Varsity House here at the LA Pittenger Student Center on the campus of Ball State University. It is the Cardinals and Miami Redhawks getting set for homecoming. 3:30 on Saturday. 2:30 is our coverage on the Cardinals Gainbridge Sports Network. Joel Godett, Mike Neu, and Bryce Cosby continue. We broke down the last game. We'll break down the previous or the upcoming game now. Miami, Mike. You alluded to it the first time I mentioned the word on the broadcast today. You're not friends. You and Chuck Martin seem like quite cordial. But you and the Miami Redhawks program, this dates back to, I feel like Coach Shudell very much installed what a rivalry means to you when you were a player.
There's no question. Obviously, when I was playing here, this was a rivalry game, and there was not much of a love loss, I guess, if you will, between the two programs. And this is a rivalry game for us. It's homecoming. It's extra special that way. It's also the Redbird rivalry. There's a trophy at stake for that, and obviously we've got goals here. And so it's a big game. Obviously, we're excited to be coming back home, riding, being able to stack 3 in a row here, and nothing would be better than to see a full house at Schumann Stadium for homecoming. And our guys are excited about the week that lies ahead and the preparation that lies ahead.
Bryce, you guys won 7 games last year. You played 8. You won every trophy that you played for with the exception of 1. How much has it bothered you for 380 some odd days, probably closer to 365 days, to get another crack at the Miami Redhawks?
Well, I mean, I try to take things a game at a time, but now that they're on the list, it's definitely back on my mind. So, like you said, it's a trophy at stake. It's definitely some unfinished business. So, just going into the week of preparation with the same mentality, the same attitude, and like you said, we're back at home, so we always want to protect home turf.
Mike, what's unique about this Miami team? And I just look at them from an offensive standpoint. Brett Gabbert, for the last couple of years, had been their quarterback. A.J. Mayer has encroached on that territory. He has started the last couple of weeks. I think they use, personnel-wise, the most running backs of any team I've seen that is not a service academy. And that's just a rotation of number of guys. But what stands out to you on paper about what this Miami, particularly offense, looks like, and then we'll get to the D?
Yeah, obviously from an offensive standpoint, they've done a good job of being pretty balanced, if you will. Obviously they pass it and throw it with efficiency. They've had their fair share of explosive plays. Obviously their receiving core has got some experience. We've seen Jack Sorensen several years. We know what he's all about. They got obviously a new addition to the receiving core, the transfer Mac Hippenhammer from Penn State. Didn't play last year, but he's done a good job in his role this year. And obviously A.J. Mayer, we saw him in our game last year due to the injury to Brett Gabbert, but he stepped in and he's done some good things. He's done a good job of taking care of the football. So, and as you mentioned, they've rotated a bunch of running backs, some of it because of injury, but some of it because they've done a good job of building their depth at that position.
Jalen Bester has played the last couple of weeks here, Bryce. What makes number one for them really special?
It's a guy we've seen the past couple of years. He's a elusive back. He might not be the biggest back, but, he knows how to make guys miss. Obviously, he's dangerous in the open field, and, he can make big plays, like any good college football running back. And so, it's always the same message, rallying to the ball, tackling, wrapping up. Making sure that we get the ball carried down when need be. So, another challenge on our hands this week is the defense.
How about them defensively, Mike? Because they are one of the more stout units. They gave up 13 points in a loss to Eastern Michigan. That's got to make you bang your head into the wall if you're Chuck Martin in that building down in Oxford. But that is a stout front. Ivan Pace has been really good for a couple of years, particularly at getting to the passer. What concerns you most when it comes to, I guess, their front seven first and foremost?
Well, I think very similar to a team like Eastern Michigan, they kind of do what they do. Their scheme is their scheme. They've had some consistency and some continuity between their staff for the last several years. So their defense is the same thing that we saw when we turn on the tape from a year ago defensively, or the same thing that when you turn on the tape from 2 years ago defensively. So they just kind of do what they do. They obviously play to their strengths. You mentioned the front. They do a great job of, with their front four of, making sure that they eat up blockers, if you will, so the linebackers can roam and do their thing. And so, they've been playing good football, and obviously it'll be a great challenge for us, and excited about getting to work here and getting back out on the practice field starting tomorrow.
Bryce, I said to Mike, the rivalry nature of this is maybe instilled by his head coach first and foremost when he played here. How much has he instilled in you guys that this game, above all else, because of what it can mean, is a big game?
I think Coach Neu does a great job, instilling. We feel like every game's a big game. We feel like every game's important. If Coach Neu is going to do one thing, he's going to make sure that we're not taking any week less than any other week. We take everybody seriously, and he's a great motivator in the sense that starting Monday, really Sunday, as soon as the game's over, it's on to the next page, and this is the task at hand, and this is what we need to do to get that feeling that we all desire. So, I think Coach Neu, he comes with the same energy and mindset every week, and that consistency, it oozes off on us as a team, and it helps build the chemistry, morale, and results needed to win games on Saturdays.
Mike, you guys beat Army a couple of weeks ago. They sing their alma mater and their fight song, and then they all chant "Beat Navy." What if, after the fight song every week, you guys just started chanting "Beat Miami" no matter who was on the field?
I hadn't thought about that. Obviously,
I'm just adding spice here. Yeah,
just in the moment. Obviously, when singing your fight song together, when you have a victory like that together on the field and in the locker room, those are special moments. And
was there a win
I haven't
over?
thought about a different twist.
Was there a win over Miami in your career, or a game against them that you remember most?
Oh, my senior year. Obviously, when we beat them and we beat them here, we shut them out. Obviously, what finished that year with the MAC championship certainly is the one that I remember the most from my playing days.
It'll be the Cardinals in Miami going at it again. Redbird rivalry at 3:30 on Saturday at Schumann Stadium. 2:30 is when our coverage begins. Bed races are on Friday. Everything that goes around with homecoming week, including us going around campus this week with a camera and T-shirts and calling out people that are wearing things for other schools. It's one of my favorite activities to do every year. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to Saturday. Guys, thanks for stopping by. Looking forward to sitting down here and breaking down hopefully another win next week.
Thank you, Joel.
Thank you.
It is the Birdfeed Live presented by Varsity House every Monday around noon here at the LA Pittenger Student Center. For Mike Neu and Bryce Cosby, my name is Joel Godett. We'll talk to you next week right back here in Muncie.
This was the Varsity.